$8 billion. It's an enormous sum sitting in the North Dakota Legacy Fund. Those controlling the investment of the $8 billion, a small group of 12. The State Investment Board is made up of high-ranking state officials like the Lieutenant Governor, the State Treasurer, the Director of Workforce Safety and Insurance, and other appointed members. The SIB is advised by Callen, an out-of-state firm who's worked with the state for decades. And taxpayers are weighing in. In a statewide survey conducted by WPA Intelligence, a leading national research firm, taxpayers by a 10-to-1 margin want a greater portion of the Legacy Fund invested in North Dakota. And by an 8-to-1 margin, they want North Dakota advisors to decide how to invest the money, not out-of-state or Wall Street consultants. KX News anchor Josh Meny joins us now to discuss the power struggle behind the rollout of an in-state investing program using Legacy Fund dollars.
That's right, Maddie. In part one, we looked at how an investigation of the Legacy Fund's foreign investments for fiscal year 2019-2020, showing the fund is essentially invested everywhere but North Dakota, helps sway the public and legislature to support an in-state investment program through House Bill 1425. For tonight's report, we ask, has the State Investment Board gotten out of any of those controversial foreign investments for this fiscal year? Representative Keith Kempenick is chairman of the Legacy and Budget Stabilization Fund Advisory Board. I sat down with Kempenick to ask him questions about the Legacy Fund's foreign investments.
What is the State Investment Board doing about not investing in accounts that are connected with Alibaba, which was banned in the United States by the Trump administration, and investments that are linked to the Communist Chinese Party and the Russian government?
Well, like I said, yeah, there's Alibaba, Wahoo was another, and we weren't in any of those.
However, Kempenick is misinformed. Fiscal year 2019-2020 documents show Alibaba was the largest foreign holding in the Legacy Fund and the 8th largest fund holding overall. SIB invested nearly $15 million into this one Chinese company alone. KX News filed a Freedom of Information Act request to the State Investment Board for this year's fiscal year 2021 report, which shows that North Dakota's Legacy Fund is invested in Alibaba even more at near $20 million.
Did you know that the Legacy Fund, North Dakota's People's Fund, was invested in accounts linked to the Chinese Communist Party and even linked to an account that facilitates the oppression of the Uyghur people in China?
No, and see, that was one of the things that, like I said, we don't get into those details when and truthfully, I'm guessing that we probably don't have much in China right now.
Documents again show to the contrary. In fiscal year 2019-2020, foreign investments show that $12 million was invested into Tencent, the Chinese company that makes the social media app WeChat. International headlines show that the app was used as a tool by the Chinese Communist Party to surveil and suppress the Uyghur minority group in China. For this fiscal year, 2020-2021, the SIB more than doubled down on their investment into Tencent at nearly $26 million. The Legacy Fund also has nearly $1 million invested in the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, a competitor to North Dakota's petroleum industry.
The companies in question that were kind of brought to light last year and stuff that were kind of on a watch list and stuff, we weren't invested in.
Again, the 2019-2020 documents show investments in several countries on the human rights watch list. In addition to China, they include Russia, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Ghana, Serbia, Croatia, Colombia, Morocco, Nigeria, and others. And the Legacy Fund remains invested in those countries today. Representative Bernie Satrom was an early proponent of getting the Legacy Fund invested into North Dakota.
I had lunch with the military fellow that's in the military recently, and I said, "What would you think about the idea of investing North Dakota funds in Russia or China?" It was interesting. He wasn't looking at it necessarily from a financial standpoint, but he said, from a military standpoint, sounds a lot like aiding and abetting.
Satrom helped spread awareness of the scope of the foreign investments as a way to gain momentum for House Bill 1425.
So what if we make a lot of money with some Chinese company that's ripping people off and doing the wrong thing? I don't think any North Dakotans would stand for that. And I think as legislators, you're going to be hearing a lot more in the next session and the days to come.
As we explained in Part 1, the State Investment Board created their own in-state investment program. SIB chose one of the firms recommended by Callen, 50 South Capital, which is also located out of state, to manage 3% of the equity portion of House Bill 1425 that will streamline the process for in-state investing. And with the special session starting on November 8th, Representative Nathy confirms he's moving to write new language in House Bill 1425. That will be voted on by the legislature during the special session. In Part 3, we'll examine the process in which Callen recommends money managers. Stay tuned for that and the latest in the ongoing power struggle to make legacy fund dollars accessible to in-state investing.
Thanks, Josh. And we have reached out to Callen for comment on this story. They responded with a letter but requested KX News keep all content confidential.